Well, today would have been Josephine Gay's 9th birthday. But 2 years ago this weekend, she was one of the 20 children killed in the shooting rampage at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut. Shortly afterwards, the Gay family resettled in the Boston area. WGBH News reporter Craig LeMoult recently spoke with Josephine's mother, Michele Gay, about her efforts to make schools safer.
Here's a picture of her in preschool, and she's hugging one of her very favorite aides. It's a great capture of how affectionate she really was.
Michele Gay remembers her daughter Josephine for her tremendous joy and happiness.
It's a lot of giggles and just affection like no other child.
Josephine had autism and another disorder that prevented her from speaking. But Michele says she still had a way of connecting with people.
There was something really different about this child and the way that she was able to relate to people without even any words. So just a really special, special soul.
She says Josephine really bonded with the other kids in Sandy Hook's first grade.
As the parent of an autistic child, that's something that you're always, concerned about for your child. You want them to be able to relate to other children. You want them to be able to have authentic friendships, and she did. She had extraordinary friends.
On the morning of Friday, December 14th, 2012, Josephine was excited about having those friends over for her 7th birthday party the next day. But Michele considered keeping Josephine home from school because she'd recently had a playground concussion.
And probably about 9:15 or so, I turned to her and I said, "Do you want to go into school today?" And she hopped up off the couch, grabbed her jacket and her backpack and her lunchbox, and she wanted to go in and be with her friends and her teachers. School was a very special place. Sandy Hook was a very special place to her.
About 6 minutes after Michele got back home, she got the call that there was a lockdown at the school. Within hours, she knew Josephine was one of the 20 children killed.
There's no way that you can't say to yourself, like I do, what if I had just held on to her? What if I hadn't asked her, do you want to go in? What if we'd been 5 minutes later? What if I had noticed that the classroom doors all keyed from the outside? There's so many things. There's just so many things.
Then, how to tell their 2 older daughters what happened to their youngest sister.
Keep going.
From those moments, those first moments where we had to explain to them that she wasn't coming home, we had to begin that dialogue, and it's something that we kind of had to shape together as a family. But we continue to have that conversation, and we allow them the chance to lead their own recovery, their own, they get to ask their own questions at their own pace. We don't push, but we offer our constant support to them.
At the time of the Columbine shooting, Michele had been a teacher herself. After Sandy Hook, she found herself asking, how could this happen again?
And I just thought, after all of these traumas and tragedies and experiences that we have, here we are really not that much better off than we were in the days of Columbine, and I was very struck by that.
So she turned her focus to founding a nonprofit organization devoted to preventing future Sandy Hooks and Columbines.
That's what Safe and Sound is. We're about empowering and educating school communities to be able to do better, to create a greater sense of safety and a greater reality of safety in the school community.
Michele travels around the country speaking to law enforcement organizations and school districts about what happened in Newtown.
Since I can't ever really get away from it, facing it head on and helping others to face it head on is my responsibility.
The group's website offers advice on everything from running drills to changing the school infrastructure.
We have the technology and the architectural expertise out there to be able to create an amazingly safe facility, amazingly safe campus and physical plant without actually making it look like Fort Knox.
Are we any better off? Are schools safer than they were 2 years ago?
I think they are, generally speaking. I think first and foremost, there's a greater sense of awareness. And just like, we prepare for a fire emergency, which really hasn't caused a death in over 56 years, we know that it's probably not going to happen, but we allow ourselves that safety. We allow ourselves that insurance.
Michele says December is a difficult month with the public buildup to the shooting's anniversary.
The pain that we feel not having her with us physically every day is no different today or yesterday or 3 months ago than it will be on the 14th. But there is always a tremendous amount of pressure. There are reports that come out. There are decisions that have to be made. And that tends to make the load really difficult to bear around this time of year.
Instead, the family is choosing to focus on Josephine's birthday, which is today.
Our hearts will always be very broken about our loss of her and just missing her on a day-to-day basis. But we keep her close. We know, we trust that she's with God, and that's tremendous comfort to us.
The family's having a quiet celebration at home today in honor of Josephine's birthday. And Emily, there's also a fundraiser that's happening for a fund in her name with the Doug Flutie Foundation for Autism.
Yeah, because one of Doug Flutie's kids also has autism. So did the family move to Massachusetts to kind of take refuge, or did they get a job here? Did they feel like they had to leave Newtown? You know,
one of the amazing things is they had already planned on moving to Massachusetts. In fact, Bob Gay was living here at the time. And Michele and the daughters just hadn't moved to Massachusetts quite yet. But she says moving here now has really been like a refuge for them. It's been a great community for them. She says they moved to a whole community, and she feels like Newtown is going to be broken for decades.
Now, when Michele goes around to these schools, I mean, she speaks very specifically about what happened that day. How does she do that? How does she have the strength to do that?
It's really incredible to hear it, because she goes minute by minute about what happened. And it takes a remarkable strength. You're absolutely right to be able to do that. But she said, as you heard her say, she feels a responsibility to share that message with people so that schools can be safer.
It really drives home the thing, even like thinking about locking the doors from the inside, and they couldn't do that because all the doors locked from the outside. So, Craig, you were working in Newtown, or I should say Connecticut, not Newtown, but a radio station there. What was that like for you? I mean, it became a massive media story, but it was right in your backyard.
Yeah, it was about an hour from the station where I was. And I was there that morning as children were leaving the school with their parents, you know, a lot of very relieved looking parents. And that's why it was so shocking when we heard what really had happened, because I saw a lot of relief leaving the house. I didn't know what was happening inside the fire station, where all those parents were still waiting to hear word from about what happened to their kids. And then, you know, to be there in the weeks afterwards to attend, you know, a live vigil for it was a live nativity scene, and hear the community coming together and singing Silent Night. And I later learned that, you know, one of the angels who was supposed to be in that performance wasn't there because she was one of the victims.
I mean, they did get kind of fed up with the media presence at some point. I mean, did they feel that way about the local media as well as the national? I mean, media had set up camps. So we're doing live shots around the clock from the school, right down the street from the school.
It was a weird thing to walk around that town, because basically, especially in the downtown Sandy Hook area, I think the community sort of took off, and everybody you saw had a camera, they had a microphone, they had a notepad, and I think it was really hard. And as a reporter who's tasked with telling the story, there was a real balance between needing to tell the story and really trying to be very, very respectful of the community, and not really getting in the way and being intrusive at all.
Wow. All right, Craig LeMoult, thanks so much for telling us the story.